Hello again. My name is David, and today I'm going to give you something to think about. My Bible study today is over in Matthew, the 9th chapter. Matthew chapter 9, verses 18 and through 20. Here we find Jesus is in Capernaum. Jesus spent most of his earthly ministry in Capernaum, around the area of the Sea of Galilee. On this particular day, Jesus is walking through a crowd, and was usually the case, there was a multitude of people that were just pushing and pressing up against him as he was walking through this city. And we're told, beginning with verse 18, while Jesus spoke these things to them, behold, a ruler came and worshipped him, saying, My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live. So Jesus arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. And suddenly a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years came from behind and touched the hem of his garment. For she said to herself, If only I may touch his garment, I shall be made well. But Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, Be of good cheer, daughter. Your faith has made you well. And the woman was made well from that hour. As Jesus is making his way through this crowd, we find that a ruler of the synagogue, likely, comes to him and tells Jesus that my daughter has just died. But if you come, Jesus, and you lay your hand on her, then she will live. Well, that's the type of faith, of course, that Jesus always honored. A faith that had absolutely no reservations whatsoever. And so he's on his way, and he's surrounded by this crowd, and he's on his way to this ruler of the synagogue's house so that he can resurrect his daughter. But there's another person that day that wants to be healed. This woman is a woman who has some sort of gynecological disorder. She's had a flow of blood. Now, this wasn't a recent development, but it's something that had been going on for 12 years. And she has already seen enough of Jesus and heard enough of Jesus to know that, well, if I can just get close enough to touch his garment, then I can be healed. And so she is in the crowd, working her way through the crowd, trying to get close enough to Jesus. Now, consider for a moment that this is one embarrassing problem for this woman. I mean, back in those days, all the women around Capernaum did their laundry in the Sea of Galilee. And so this woman on a daily basis has to go down to the Sea of Galilee and wash out her menstrual garments because she's always bleeding. She's had this flow of blood for 12 years, okay? It's nonstop. It's a very embarrassing problem. It's an embarrassing problem, but it's also a problem that has caused a lot of isolation to come into her life. First of all, there was the isolation from any friends. Obviously, her friends didn't want to be around her. In fact, her friends probably even spoke about her behind her own back. But then there was also her family, too. She was also separated even in her own house. I mean, her husband couldn't get, husband only wanted to get so close to her, okay? Same thing was true about her children, too. You know, they needed to be careful. Obviously, they didn't want to get blood on them or anything like that. In addition to this type of separations, there was also the faith component, too. She wasn't even allowed to go into her synagogue because she was continuously, ceremonially unclean. And so she was banished from her own synagogue. She was even separated from her faith, from her God, in a manner of speaking. And so this has been more than just an embarrassing problem. I mean, it just basically has made her an outcast. And so she works her way through the crowd, and she gets close enough to Jesus to the point where she can actually reach out and touch the hem of his garment. Now, the fact that she touches the hem of his garment is significant because it means that she's down low on the ground, okay? She is bowing before Jesus. She is on the ground like a beggar would. That's the type of posture that she's taking here, showing her respect for Jesus, and also probably true too, expressing some of her fear with the idea in mind that not only may Jesus heal her, but there is also the chance that Jesus might rebuke her too. I mean, after all, he's in this crowd. No one else wants to be around her. Why would Jesus want to be around her? And so she's hopeful that she can do this and be healed privately. But Jesus immediately senses that someone in the crowd has been healed through their faith. And Jesus knows, of course, exactly who it is that's touched him. And so we're told that Jesus turns around. And when he saw her, he said, "Be of good cheer, daughter. Your faith has made you well." Jesus didn't just heal this woman. He restored this woman. He restored all these relationships from which she had been cut off from for 12 years. Her friends now could be with her. Her family could now be with her. Her husband could now be with her. And she could also exercise her faith in the synagogue. This morning, I want to leave you with this. No matter what your sin, no matter what your sickness, no matter what your problems may be, Jesus not only has the power to heal you, he also has the power to restore broken relationships. I hope you'll take that thought today and meditate on it. I hope that this is something that you will think about today. Till next time, so long.